My name is Jaiye Bynoe. You on the Jayman Show. It's on WBCA 102.9 FM, Boston's local community radio station. My guest today is Laura Jasinski from City Splash in Charles River. Hi, Laura. Good to see you on the show today.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and meet you. Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got started at Charles River in City Splash?
Sure. So I'm the executive director of the Charles River Conservancy, which is a nonprofit that is based in Cambridge but works on the Charles River from Watertown to Boston. And I've been working in the environmental sector and specifically in public parks for just about 15 years now. I started out thinking that I wanted to be an architect because I was really interested in design and how design can influence how people experience spaces. And I quickly realized that A, I was not a very good architect, and B, that I was more interested in what was happening between the buildings, what was happening outside in public space, because that's where you might meet someone that, someone that's different than you, someone that doesn't live in your building or work in your building, and you're more likely to meet someone you might not otherwise. And I just loved that and loved how public parks are such an intersection of community life, environment and stewardship, innovation, art, really everything, and all good things I think intersect in public parks. So I took a job with an organization called the Rose Kennedy Greenway Conservancy in 2010. When that organization was really just forming and building. That's the park that's on top of the 93 tunnel that goes through downtown Boston. And so got to help with a lot of really fun projects there and a lot of community engagement work and programming, and just fell in love with everything in public parks. And so I worked a little bit after that for a statewide organization called the Trustees of Reservations, and then took an opportunity with the Charles River Conservancy to lead the organization. So I've been here for a little over 4 years now, which has been really fun and really exciting, and love getting to work, in helping make public parks, better every day.
Well, that's wonderful to hear, because we need more people like yourself to make public parks, better for people of Boston, and so that's just like some in the summertime, and how we have City Splash, which is wonderful. I mean, yeah. Because so how does City Splash come about though?
Sure. So City Splash is an event where people can go swimming in the Charles, which I think you're probably one of our longest running participants and most enthusiastic. Yeah. And we started the event in 2013. It was the first community swim in the Charles in over 50 years. So the Charles used to be used as a swimming beach and asset. There's a park in Cambridge called Magazine Beach Park. It's called that because it used to be used as a beach up until about the 1950s and 60s, when we realized how contaminated the water was because we had been polluting it from industry and was really not taking very good care of our river. So swimming stopped, and then there was a lot of work over the succeeding decades to really try to clean up the Charles, part of the Clean Water Act, and there were other organizations that were really advocating for the cleanup of it. There's a letter grading system that the federal agency, the EPA, gives rivers and urban water bodies, and it's like getting a report card from school. So, if you get an A, you're a really good river, you're a good student. If you get, a D, you're bad or bad. And the Charles River in the 1990s was getting a D grade from the EPA. It was really bad. So all this work, all this investment to really help clean up the river, brought the river back up to a letter grade of, more around the B+, A- level. And so our organization started this event to celebrate that, all the work that had gone into that cleanup, and to also draw attention to we still need to keep doing work to take care of the river. So we do a lot of work to prepare for the event. We hire lifeguards. We, create like a roped out area, a safe swimming area like you would see at another swimming beach. And we get a lot of permits. So we get permits from the Department of Conservation and Recreation, which is our state parks agency, also the Department of Public Health, because we have to test the water just to confirm that it's safe to swim in that day. for the event. So you can't actually swim in the river any day of the year. You really need to have these special permissions just to make sure it's safe. So we do that. We do all the planning. We get people registered and get all their safety information and contacts, and then have the swim, and people can jump in. So we did the first one in 2013, and then we did it again this year. We hadn't had it in 5 years.
Yeah.
So this is our first time in 5 years that we did it this year. It was really fun to bring it back.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I enjoyed it. Is there any plans to make swimming in Charles River for summertime almost every day? Because I love to go swimming every day, you know.
We really, that's really the goal, is to make sure to have the Charles be swimmable every day. And so I mentioned that improvement of the water quality, that all the investment and work that had gone into that. And that's true. What the letter grade measures is bacteria. So, something, you don't want too much bacteria in the water. There's another problem that we're having that's different than the bacteria, which is it's called it's algae. So we sometimes see algae blooms in the river. You might see like a green tint or like a green scum to the water, and it happens a lot when there's really hot weather. And that algae can be harmful to humans. So that's kind of another thing that we need to watch out for, and that we're trying to figure out how to improve and really mitigate so that we don't have that issue. So we're working on that. And then ultimately, we would love to see a swimming area. And our organization has done plans, a feasibility study for a swim park in the Charles, which would basically be, kind of think of like a pool, but submerged in the river. So you'd have permeable, you'd have a solid bottom, so that people didn't have to touch the bottom of the river, because it's gross, and you don't want people touching the bottom of the river because it's also contaminated to a degree. So you'd have a solid bottom and like permeable sides so water could flow through, and then a dock, a structure where people could kind of access the water. So it's like a submerged pool. And so we've looked at places where you could do that along the river. So that's an option, and what we hope to see as a way of bringing swimming to the river regularly. But we really need to make sure that we can have consistently, really good water quality to invest in a really big project like that.
I guess that's true. Do you think this might happen maybe next year, or maybe a couple of years down the line? This might happen.
I think it's still a couple of years down the line. Hopefully, it's still within our swimmable, not too far down the line, and definitely in our lifetime. But there are still challenges that we're dealing with the water quality that we need to deal with, and we're looking at ways of how to do that too. So we have been working on a project. It's our floating wetland project, and it's a artificial island. It's a human-made island that we placed in the lower basin, and we're doing research on it to understand how this type of technology, this new kind of tool, can help improve water quality, improve the ecology of the river, and by doing so also improve the water quality by basically replacing riverbanks and or building back riverbanks where we don't have them anymore. Where we have sea walls, we have stone walls that don't have plants on them, and they don't have wildlife, and all of those things are really important to the ecosystem and the health of the river overall. So while we won't be able to fully restore the Charles to full riverbank in areas where we have seawalls, we're looking at ways where we can bring back that greenery, the biodiversity, and all of the really important functions that come with that to help make the river healthier.
That sounds wonderful. What if we also do maybe ice skate and during the wintertime maybe, or even fish? Is it okay to fish in the river and probably eat the fish that you catch in Charles River?
Yeah, people do fish in the river, and I'm not sure of the exact recommendation, but I know you shouldn't have Charles. You can eat them. You shouldn't have Charles River fish be their main source of protein in your diet. You don't want to eat a ton of it, but I think you can. It is safe to eat a certain amount of it. Okay. But we definitely see people fishing. And skating is a good idea. That's also not allowed because of safety. It's really hard to tell which sections of the river have enough ice to be safe, and which ones are thinner and people might fall in. So it's not allowed, though it has been done in a long time ago. I've seen some old photos of people skating, but it's not allowed for safety reasons.
I see. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did COVID affect you? Everything being shut down, was it tough for you?
Yeah, that was interesting. Like everybody, we have an office of 7 people, and we were working in the office, and then all of a sudden we're working from home for over a year. And so we learned how to do that and adapt and kind of continue to work together over Zoom like this. But what's been interesting in the environmental field and the park field is that we also got a lot more attention. Everybody, I think, built an appreciation for just how important public parks are. A lot of people knew that already. A lot of people experienced that, but parks were where people, it's where you were going to safely meet your friends or family. It became like your people's gym, right? Gyms closed, classrooms, a lot of classes were going outside. So I think it just really highlighted how important the work that we do is as an organization and how important it is to really support our public parks, so that they're there for health and for health and wellness, and how important they are to public health. So it was interesting to both be trying to run a nonprofit and worry about things like fundraising and seeing lots of things were changing all at once, but also we saw a really big appreciation from our supporters for public parks.
I see. Wow. So what made you want to be work for the parks? I mean, what got you interested in all this?
Yeah, I think it's really that element of you get to do something different almost every day when you're working in a public park. For example, in a given week, I'll work on a public art project, I'll work on a resilience project, I'll work on advocacy, for creating more space for people to walk and bike near the park. So I'm working on a lot of different things in any given day and working with a lot of different people. And I love that. I'm, part of my job is building partnerships with different organizations that are doing great work, in Cambridge and Boston and Watertown, and trying to provide the parks as a platform for them to do that work. And I love making those connections, and I love building those partnerships. So yeah, it's just the variety. As someone, if you were to ask me what a typical day is, I could not answer because I don't have a typical day.
I see. Wow.
Besides that, I wake up and go to bed. I mean, that's really the only regularity of my day. Yeah.
So what inspires you? What gives you inspiration to do what you do?
Probably those same people that I work with. Well, and also seeing people enjoy it. I mean, seeing you have so much fun at City Splash.
Yeah.
It's really easy to kind of get, mentally into the weeds of like planning and logistics and all that. But then when you see how much you enjoyed it, it really means a lot. And it means a lot to our entire team. And that's true with City Splash. That's true with someone kayaking on the river. That's true with, someone just enjoying a picnic and feeling like they have a place to go relax. So that really inspires me. And then just seeing how hard a lot of, how dedicated and how hard a lot of people and colleagues in the environmental field are working, right? People are getting up and putting so much time and energy and effort into trying to keep our environment healthy, trying to make it healthier, trying to connect more people to it, and just seeing how hard colleagues work at other organizations, and hear the team that I work with every day, how dedicated everybody is really inspiring.
Oh yeah, that's very true. Yeah. So what do you like to do in your spare time for fun and travel when you're not working?
Good question. So my husband and I, we have a dog.
Oh.
And we love playing with the dog. We love taking her for hikes. So we go to other parks. We like to explore other parks. He's a landscape architect, so he designs parks, and then I manage them or program them and work in the activation of them. So we work in kind of similar fields. We both love the outdoors. Love bringing our dog for hikes in the outdoors. And then we also have a canoe. So we like to go canoeing. We put the dog in the middle of the canoe, and sometimes she likes to go back and forth. So it starts to rock the boat a little bit. So I have to stay really stable so that, I don't throw us off and tip us over. But that's really fun. And then I do a lot of cooking. I like to do a lot of cooking. I started baking bread in the pandemic. So got to keep up with my bread baking.
Yeah.
My rule in the pandemic was that I could eat whatever I wanted as long as I ate it. So I made a lot of bread and pasta and cookies and lots of things that I wanted to eat. So I like to do a lot of that too.
That sounds fun. I love to try some of your cooking. I love to try.
Yeah, I have a good recipe, a good chocolate chip recipe.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing it, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you see yourself years from now or down the line?
That's also a good question. Probably, still in the same field. I think, again, I really like that it's different. I'd love to be in a place where, whether it's working for the Charles River Conservancy or another organization, we're helping to get, keep connecting people, helping to make some of the structures and how we take care of parks in Massachusetts and make that better. I think figuring out how to leverage more communities and really give them ownership over the spaces is important. Understand every park is also so different. You could be in a forest out in Western Mass, and that's a very different environment and needs different care than an urban park, in Boston. So love it. I really also enjoy thinking like structurally, how do we enable more care? How do we enable more people to get involved? So something still in the same field, maybe I don't know, bigger, but I'm also very happy where I am. So
okay. Yeah. And did you have any plans to maybe leave Boston someday, or maybe move to some of us like Florida, California, where it's warm?
That's a good question. I think I'm probably pretty based in Massachusetts, or as much as I can predict. You can never fully know what's going to come. I'm from Western Massachusetts, so my family is all just a couple hours west of the city. And I live in Medford and really like living in kind of around the Boston area. I also love being able to go to Western Mass and enjoy, more wide open spaces and see my family. And my husband moved actually up here from Louisiana. So pretty big difference for him. And he also loves Massachusetts, and, he kind of made his big move. So I think we're in Mass to stay for a while, if not forever. But love traveling too. That's important. Love to go to out west and see friends in Colorado, friends and family. We went to Costa Rica for the first time, which is a really cool place to visit. So love being based in Massachusetts, but also traveling a lot.
I hear you. I see it. And so what is it like for you during the winter time? Is it hot for you? Find work,
Yeah. Winter time, even though we're maybe not out in the parks as much as we are this time of year in the summer, winter time is a really important time for us to plan our year. What programs are we doing? We start planning City Splash in January.
Wow.
Because it takes a lot to pull together. So we do that. And then part of my job is also fundraising. So I work with a lot of our donors, and the end of the year, December, the end of the calendar year is a big donation time. So I spend a lot of time, working with our donors, understanding what's really interesting to them, what's motivating them, what they like to see from our organization, and do a lot of fundraising in the fall and in the winter also. So even though it's different, it's still busy. Though we do get to take a little bit of a break. I usually take close the office the last week of the year and give everybody a well-deserved break.
I understand, and would you maybe ever consider moving to Florida someday where it's hot? It
was plenty hot here for me last week. I don't know about you, but however many days we had in the 90s. I don't think I would move to Florida. My parents like to go to Florida in the winter, so I get to go visit them.
Yeah.
And that's nice to have a place to go visit, but I don't think I would necessarily move there.
Oh, I understand, yeah.
Are you a big fan of Florida?
Oh yeah, I love Walt Disney World,
Yeah, that's right. You just had a trip there.
Yeah. I'm I'm trying to move down there in January to go to school, for my degree in communications. So,
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, because I love Boston now, but not during winter time, because it gets too cold. So, yeah.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. I like snow. From like December through January.
Yeah.
February it starts to get old, and March is pretty terrible. I feel like here. If I could leave for March.
Yeah.
I think it's the worst month.
I hear you. I definitely hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So what do you think people can do to make the world better, in your opinion?
I think that they can I think that there are a lot of really great nonprofits out there with people whose, day in and day out is trying to make the world better in some way, whether that's helping the environment or helping provide food to people that don't have enough food or education to people that need more support. So I think that there are great ways to get involved for people that are interested in doing that, finding a nonprofit, learning more about it, learning how they can support, either volunteering or financially. Or by giving feedback. I think that's really important. Not everybody has time to volunteer. Not everybody can afford to volunteer. So if there are ways, finding out the right way for, individuals to interact with an organization, whether that's just letting them know how they'd like to, or, what they can do to meet kind of their needs. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity, and I think also just taking care of, yourself, doing it in a way that's not detrimental to the planet, but I think there's a lot of benefit in just getting outside and taking a walk for an individual and also for kind of the greater community environment.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So what are your plans for summer, for the rest of the summer and the rest of this year?
I have a couple of camping trips.
Oh, wow.
That I'm going to go on. I actually just went camping on the Boston Harbor Islands on Petix Island, which is really fun. I think we're going to go to upstate New York again. We'll take the dog, we'll go camping, and then we'll be in Vermont for a long weekend in August. We have some very good friends that are getting married, so we'll make a really long weekend out of that and have a lot of fun with friends out in Vermont. I'm trying to go to more farmers markets in this summer. I love going to farmers markets, and so cooking. But yeah, kind of balancing some time away and camping with hanging out at home. And then we'll also, for our organization, the fall gets really busy. So I'll do some planning in August for kind of our next year.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. So what's it like to camp on a harbor? Can you swim on a harbor as well?
Yeah, we did. It was cold where we were, but it was really refreshing. You take right now, you can only camp on Petix Island, but you have to make the ferry in time. You have to buy a ticket to the ferry, and you have to book a place, one of the campsites. But you take a ferry over with all of your stuff, all of your food. We have a wagon that we take and a cooler that has wheels, so it's a little easier to drag. And set up the tent at the site. But it's really fun because you feel like you're very far out of the city because you're really kind of surrounded by nature, but you can see the city. You can see the skyline in the distance. So it's really fun, kind of combination of feeling like you're in the middle of nowhere and right next to the city.
Yeah.
I recommend it. And there's on Petix Island, as well as other islands, there are old forts from World War I and World War II that are being restored. So some of them are almost like ruins, complete ruins that you can kind of walk around and explore. And then some of them are being renovated and preserved, but it's also just like a peek into history in a really different way.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. And can you also fish on the islands too?
Yeah, that's not something we've done, but I've seen people fishing out in the harbor. Where we were was a really busy navigation channel kind of through there. So I'm not sure how many fish hang out right there, but I'm sure there are places to do it. Okay,
wow. And I see, wow. And that's wonderful. Yeah, wow. So I guess my last question to you is how do you deal with, and this is serious, how do you deal with racism in your opinion? I know it exists, how did that affect you growing up here?
Definitely different because I am a white woman, and so I do not feel the same systematic racism that you do. I just don't. I've been someone that's benefited from privilege of having white skin, and definitely have been thinking a lot more about that on how, especially in the world of public parks, how to make sure people with that be much more aware of how racism plays out in public parks, right? There are places that people don't feel comfortable either because of how they're policed or kind of signals they get on what types of activities they can and can't do, what kind of music they can and can't play. So I've been thinking about how we make sure and can help support everybody feeling, welcome in public parks. So that's really important, and they are everybody's, and also thinking about our organization. How can we, hold ourselves accountable, think about new partners, how we amplify the work of other groups that are led by people of color, that are, working really directly with people of color, and try to do that ourselves as well. So I've been thinking a lot about it, but as a white person, I don't feel the same, I'm very aware that I don't have the same negative effects of direct racism. I've been benefited from privilege.
I'm sorry to hear that, because I understand how you feel, and it's not right, so and I know that's, that, because I myself, as a Black man, I faced so many times, so I know what you mean, so, because it is a tough thing to go through, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so how can we, so I guess our time is up, but how can we reach out to you on social media if you want to email you?
Sure, so we are on Instagram. The organization it's at Charles River CRC is our Instagram handle. The same is true for Twitter. And then we also have a Facebook page. And all of that, we also have a website, which is www.thecharles.org. And so you can find more information about our projects, our staff, contact information, and the links or the connections to our social media. But yeah, give us a follow, and yeah, I hope to see you before next year's City Splash.
Absolutely, I definitely want to. I definitely want to, give you sometime, for summer's over, so
Yeah.
So available, just I can email you. We can make it. We can set time. We can definitely set time to get together, so for lunch, I'll wait for you. Okay, I'm always available. Okay, and I will have this interview edit and try and get it next week. Okay, so I feel like I appreciate you come on the show. It means a whole lot to me. So.
Thanks for inviting me, and good luck with your plans and your study plans for Florida. Keep me posted on that.
I promise I will. Obviously, let me talk soon. Okay, God bless you. Make sure you stay safe and have a good time in camping. Okay, and we'll talk soon.
You too. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thanks. Bye bye.